Do you want to be ahead of the game for the latest in arts, music, cuisine, and entertainment across the Middle East's most dynamic capital cities? Al Monitor is proud to launch our City Pulse newsletters, focused exclusively on local news, starting in Riyadh, Dubai, Istanbul, and Doha. Each week, our on-the-ground writers in these cities cover the latest cultural happenings and trends, so you have everything you need to know for the best local experiences. To subscribe for free, go to almonitor.com, that's al-monitor.com, and sign up on our newsletter page.
Welcome back to the Al Monitor Brief. I'm Adam Lucente. President Donald Trump's second term has gotten off to a fast start, and his actions vis-a-vis the Middle East are no exception. Trump's plan for a U.S. takeover of Gaza has pleased Israel, but shocked the Arab world. The reimposition of maximum pressure on Iran, coupled with offers for talks on their nuclear program, has so far been rejected by Tehran. The cuts to USAID have some regional actors worried, including in post-war Syria, and Trump chose Saudi Arabia as the location for the U.S.'s most significant talks with Russian officials in 2 years. My guest this week is Al Monitor's State Department correspondent, Elizabeth Hagedorn. Elizabeth provides an overview of the Trump administration's Middle East policy, offering insights from her reporting in Washington and Northwest Syria. Hope you enjoy. Elizabeth, welcome back to the Al Monitor Brief.
Hi, Adam. Thanks for having me.
Elizabeth, my first question is about the talks between U.S. and Russian officials this week. Why did President Trump seek Saudi Arabia as the site of the talks with Russia?
I think there are a few reasons, Adam. Trump sees Saudi Arabia, number one, as the most important regional country to U.S. interests, aside from probably Israel. It's a country he wants to sell American weaponry to, and he wants the Saudis to make good on a promise to invest up to $600 billion in the United States. And also, Trump views Saudi Arabia as an emerging power broker in the region, one that could play a role not only in mediating the Ukraine war, but also in financing his post-war vision for Gaza. I think also there's a certain level of comfort that Trump has with the Saudis that dates back to his first term. It was the country that he first visited as president back in 2017. You'll recall that he stood by it when Jamal Khashoggi's murder created an uproar in Congress. And Trump and his family have since grown their business ties with the kingdom during the 4 years that he was out of office. You know, in what was, I think, clearly a sign of the value that Trump places on his relationship with Riyadh. After his inauguration in January, the first foreign leader that Trump got on the phone with was none other than Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman.
Moving on to Gaza, what is the latest on Trump's Gaza plan? And also, what are the possible ways this could play out based on what we know about the plan and also the regional responses to it?
Well, Marco Rubio, Trump's Secretary of State, he just wrapped an overseas trip that included stops in Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, where I suspect he got an earful about this Gaza takeover plan. Since Trump unveiled the plan to turn Gaza into what he's dubbed the Riviera of the Middle East, he's really only doubled down. He has said that Palestinians would be permanently relocated to Jordan and Egypt. He said that the U.S. would take ownership of the territory. And Gaza's neighbors have, of course, rushed to reject the plan. Egypt right now is leading the planning on an Arab counterproposal, and Arab leaders will discuss that Friday in Riyadh. The question is not only will they be able to coalesce around a plan themselves, but can they come up with one that will also satisfy both the United States and Israel?
Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with Elizabeth Hagedorn after this short break.
Today's transformation of the Middle East is at the center of global geopolitics. Whether you're an analyst, diplomat, executive, or academic, you need the best reporting and analysis to understand what's really happening on the ground and what it means for the world. Al Monitor is the award-winning independent leader in Middle East news. From Riyadh to Beirut, Abu Dhabi to Doha, and Baghdad to Tehran, our team of over 100 expert journalists report daily on the top stories driving the regional trends. Download our mobile app and subscribe to Al Monitor to follow what leaders and decision makers are reading every day. Go to almonitor.com, that's AL-MONITOR.com, and use promo code POD25, POD25 for a discount.
Okay, we're back. Elizabeth, I want your thoughts on the administration's plans for USAID. How are the cuts in U.S. humanitarian assistance being viewed in the region?
Well, I think the concern is you risk fueling further anti-American sentiment that was already running high over America's support for Israel's war in Gaza. Consider that in fiscal year 2023, countries in the Middle East received roughly $4 billion in combined economic and humanitarian assistance from USAID. Cutting off that aid, or much of it, risks undermining the recoveries of close US partners in the region who are grappling with the effects of war, of COVID, the Islamic State, and other terrorist groups. I recently returned from a reporting trip to Syria where I spent time in a hospital in the northwestern province of Idlib. That hospital is run by the Syrian American Medical Society. At the time of my visit, they were already canceling surgeries and scaling back services due to the loss of their biggest donor, the United States. Humanitarian needs in Syria are at an all-time high, and aid programs are being scrapped across the country like that one, including some that unmistakably fall into the category of life-saving assistance. And the Trump administration has waivers for that kind of assistance, but most organizations I've spoken with are still waiting to receive them.
My last question is about Iran. How would you characterize the Trump administration's approach to Iran so far?
What we've heard from Trump and his aides is that they are open to a diplomatic deal with Iran, but would consider military action if those talks failed. The window for diplomacy won't stay open forever, and that's what's to keep in mind. Iran's nuclear capabilities are progressing, and Israel is said to be considering strikes on its nuclear facilities as soon as this spring. Ben Caspit reported for us last week that the Israeli government is of the belief that the Trump administration would be willing to support Israel in carrying out such a strike. At the same time, we're seeing the return of so-called maximum pressure on Iran. Earlier this month, Trump signed an executive order that aims to intensify sanctions on Iran and drive its oil exports down to zero. Of course, the maximum pressure approach did not succeed in bringing the Iranians to the negotiating table in his first term, and there is plenty of skepticism that it will do so in a second.
Elizabeth, thanks a lot for your time, and we look forward to more of your reporting on all of these issues.
Thanks, Adam.
Thanks for listening to the Al Monitor Brief. Follow Al Monitor for more on the stories impacting the Middle East.